What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So we got a whole load of new champions, and if you've seen some of them from other content creators, let me know who you're most interested in. But whether you're watching this video now when the champions are released or in the future after you pull this champion, I'm looking forward to showcasing how he actually works. I think he's an awesome champion. I think for some players he's going to be amazing. For others, of course, if you're very late game, you probably won't have much use for him. But for the players that he's going to be beneficial to, he's going to be very beneficial too. I also think he has a few very interesting but niche areas where he could do awesome work. Now, this is Raid's version of Krampus, which is this dude right here. Pretty freaky looking, not going to lie. Looks a little bit less freaky in game. But yeah, this dude's a scary character. Now, this dude's name's Bells, and he did 12 million damage in Nightmare Hydra. Newt did 14 million. This was a full auto run, and I more or less just stopped it around 1 key, or I guess the Hydra actually stopped it itself. I wasn't trying to make it go very far. I was just trying to see what kind of damage he could kind of do and kind of build a decent team around him. Of course, you could get this pushed up to 100 million damage relatively easily if you have these champions or slightly different ones. Now, I want to showcase him in the arena in some different areas, but let's watch this replay just a little bit. This is, of course, the test server to see what kind of damage he's doing. So in his kit, he scales his HP and crit damage crazy fast, replacing the block buffs as well as a leech, AoE, and then he has an A2 that functions kind of like a Mashald / Oboro. So you saw it just then. Unfortunately, he didn't target the correct head, but if he hits a head or anything with a leech debuff on it, which is why Nekmo, I think, is so good to bring alongside him for extra chances at leech, or Mashald, or whatever champion has leech in addition, is going to be helpful, but he can do it by himself. But essentially, he's going to hit that head, and then he's going to attack all other enemies. So, like Oboro, who, if somebody's under 4 or more debuffs, she attacks everybody else. He's the same way, which makes me think Slayer could be awesome for him, though I don't have a good Slayer set for him. We will test that in this video, though. Now, from his A3 ability, the AoE hit, we hit for 200, almost 300,000 damage on the decapitated head. So he's doing some decent numbers, but he's also an HP-based champion. He's not an attack or a defense-based champion, which comes with some downsides, which are, he can't have his damage boosted by increased attack or increased defense, but he is scaling it a lot from his passive. But he's also going to be able to survive very well, which is what's going to lead into his niche but very effective use case a little bit later in the video. So we'll fast forward this Hydra. You guys probably don't want to see this entire run. There's really no reason to. I want to see what he hits for with that A2 skill, though. I think you guys probably want to see that as well. If he actually targets that head with the A2, unless it just dies. It may die. Okay, there's the A2. There we go. That's some pretty sweet damage. Now, that was on a decapitated head, of course. But this dude's also no blessing. So we have no awakening whatsoever. There's an obvious blessing for this dude who you should pick. But he hit it, 698,000. It has leech. So then he attacks everything else. 91,000 there, a weak hit there, and a hit into the life barrier there. It's not a whole lot of damage. But he's putting up some good numbers, especially for an HP-based champion with, once again, no blessings. So let's go take a look at his actual skill kit. And I'm going to be honest, I got a feeling this dude's probably going to be part of a future guaranteed event. He's the Christmas champion. I don't think we've had a guaranteed event in a while. And wait, he has snow coins on his necklace. Okay, I think it's snow coins, right? Either way, he just seems perfectly tailored for a guaranteed event during Christmas. I don't know what this is on his back, though. I have no clue. But that weapon looks pretty sick. That's a cool weapon. Reminds me of one of the axes in World of Warcraft. I think it dropped from Ice Crown Citadel, from the Bone Marrow. No, not that one. I don't know. There's an axe in WoW that looked very similar to that. Not the bone one, though. Either way, getting a little bit off topic there. Let's look at his skills. It says A1 ability attacks one enemy, 50% chance of placing decreased defense, will ignore 5% of the target's defense for each debuff on them. Of course, this would be a max of 50%. You can only have 10 debuffs on a target. It's going to be difficult to hit that anyways, though. And then his A2 ability attacks one enemy. Before attacking, steals all buffs from the target, will repeat the attack against all enemies if the initial target is under leech. Now, I don't know if this has the steal effect on all enemies. I may have to test that out because I haven't noticed that. That's actually very interesting. Let's see if how that actually works in practice. If we ever see a point where they have buffs on multiple heads, Okay, here we go. Here's a chance where they actually have some buffs up. I can maybe try it. So you'd have to have Leech applied to people. We'll try it in a little while in the arena, actually. And then his A3 ability is an AoE attack, places block buffs and a Leech debuff for 2 turns, books up to 100% chance, also fills his champion's turn meter by 5% for each debuff placed by the skill. So 2 debuffs, 4 Hydra heads, that's 8 buffs, so what, 40% turn meter boost? That's a pretty big turn meter boost. Yeah, assuming he places everything, right? And then this passive skill is where things get really interesting. Increases his champion's max HP by 5%, up to 50%, and crit damage by 5%, up to 50% for each debuff placed by this champion. His HP currently, with no blessing, is 97,000 HP. If we get 1 blessing for him, that's going to be an extra 7,500 HP. So we'll just call it 10,000. He'll be at over 100,000 HP, so a 50% boost to that. Now he's going to be sitting at 150,000 HP with 290% crit damage. But if you put the, say, 4-star blessing on him, now all of a sudden he's going to be pushing 310, 320, 330 crit damage with a lot of HP. This guy is going to be hard to get through, which leads me to my first niche area that he could be used in. That's in Clan Siege and the Orc Tower. Orcs, for a lot of players, now if you're later in the game, you're against more challenging clans, well, Orcs have Garrel. We don't really care about this other dude too much, but they have Garrel, who's a pretty big damage dealer. They have Warlord, who's going to be on most of the high-end teams, Raka, all this kind of stuff. But if you're a lower player or a player who's against more manageable teams, your bells could be geared to the point where it's going to be very difficult for them to actually kill him. Orcs have some solid damage dealers, but I feel like they're lacking some like really serious arena hard-hitting champions. We have King Garog, so we do have a few throughout, but he can bring a legitimate option to actually do some good work in Orcs. I mean, build him fast, put priority on this, place block buffs, place Leech, and all of a sudden he has 150,000 HP. He's a pretty serious champion to actually try to get through. And then you stack it, of course, on top of your other champions of the team. Maybe you have some decent Orcs to work around it, but in Siege, he could be interesting. Now, of course, I wouldn't recommend going for a champion solely for Siege for most players, but let's go check out his use in the arena. And so you may have noticed that I actually built him with arena in mind. We have lethal gear, plus I don't know what we have going on here, but lethal plus stone skin, Merciless, or Slayer could all be very solid options. Let me know what you think about this champion, but before I actually test this, I want to see if the Slayer set actually works on him the way I'm thinking it will. So where's new priority speed, Slayer, we'll just throw 4 pieces on. How you can test this and know if it will proc is if it's boosting his turn meter when this happens, it means it'll work in just general content. So we'll go to Doom Tower real quick. Ideally not the top floor, go down here, stage 2, go bells, there we go, and we'll give this a shot. So we're gonna go with the A3, boost his turn meter a good chunk, and now with the A2, we'll see, okay, if there's a turn meter boost his turn meter by 5. So it does in fact work. So Slayer set for him will be incredible. He's gonna have massive turn meter boost from the A3 ability. That's actually the set that I would go if I could. Actually, I can go that. Well, what's holding me back from going that? Slayer set would be crazy good for him. That defense ignore, plus a turn meter boost on top of the turn meter boost from his skills, plus that A3 ability. We have the 5, 10, 15, 20, 25% turn meter boost on top of his, 50% turn meter boost. So huge boosting there. So while lethal and things like that will be great, if you don't have Slayer, honestly, if you have Slayer, I'd say just go that. 6-piece Slayer is going to be so good for him. 9-piece is going to be the best, but it's not always easy to get 9-piece Slayer on a champion. Speaking of, let's actually go to Seer. Seer is in a decent set of Slayer gear, so we're just going to make some test server adjustments real quick. We'll go this dude right here. We'll go preset manager. Swap that over. Equip. Now, let's move. I don't have very good Slayer stuff for the bottom row pieces, unfortunately, for these champions. We're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is crit damage with some, we've got some decent crit rate, we do. This is speed, okay, we don't need that. Instead, we'll go, I don't think we have HP percentage, right? No, we don't really have the speed to make that make sense either. If I put a Slayer pair of boots on there, he's gonna be losing way too much speed. Yeah, he's not Obero, so he doesn't constantly do that A1 ability. Also, he's very low HP percentage right now. That's not great either. But we're gonna see if we can adjust this to make him a little bit stronger. HP percentage and Slayer loses 24% crit damage. This is decent, okay? Not great, definitely not great. 73,000 HP. But on the live servers, I would actually try to optimize this a bit more. But going for apparently not as much crit damage as I was hoping. Or so, yeah. We're actually going to put a different necklace on him. It's going to be the easiest way for me to make this work. Unless I could do a crit damage Slayer Slayer glove. We lose a lot of crit rate. Okay, we gain some crit rate. We lose 15 crit damage and lose 15 speed. I don't love it. But the other option, I lose 33% crit damage from that necklace swap. But now we're at our 30% defense ignore, plus a turn meter boost. So we're looking pretty good. 1, 2, okay, I missed the weapon. The weapon is what was not swapped, but it's okay. Everything's fine. I would definitely recommend going Slayer if you can. It's going to help it a lot, or Merciless. Both of them are going to be really good. So for his masteries, we have typical nuker masteries that also places debuffs. I do recommend putting some accuracy on him. Ideally, be closer to 300. On the live servers, I would have this fully ascended with accuracy, all that kind of good stuff. But here, we don't have those resources, so I just can't do it, unfortunately. This would be speed or HP percentage. The top row, all HP. Everything he has scales off of HP. So that's going to be what your goal is. Now, if we move into the arena with him, let's go test out a few teams. I was testing a few earlier. It was not in Slayer, though. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Slayer works. Also, I want to see... They have buffs. That's fantastic, actually. That will show me exactly what I want to see. So he buffed up there. I don't really want to... Oh, I could have used... No, I don't want to strip him. Not yet. I can steal the turn meter and stun him. That's fine. But no stripping going on. So A3 here. Place a block, buffs, and no leech, actually. Let's think about this one. What I want to do is actually land that skill. We're going to switch her forms. Okay, we got 3 turns on the leech. That's actually solid. We're going to boost turn meter some. Good. Yoink their turn meter. Now, I want to see if he goes and steals Lazarius's buffs, if he'll then steal the other champion's buffs. So it says attacks one enemy before attacking, steals all buffs from the target, and will repeat it. I assume that he would not steal other people's stuff, but maybe he does. So we steal that, and we didn't seem like we stole anything else. We can't steal Veil, I don't believe, but I don't think we stole anybody else's stuff. So it's just the actual damage. Repeat the actual attack portion, which is okay, not a big deal. And we're already stacking up our HP to a pretty good point. These were all basically weak affinities. I'm weak affinity to basically everything here. But I mean, his damage is pretty decent. 217. Is he going to be your new top nuker? Absolutely not. But is he going to be a solid nuker? Sure. This team's definitely going to be faster than me, I believe. Noel's like a shoes in for Sir Nick, I believe. Instantly use his annoying skill. Yeah. I mean, there's not a whole lot I can do. I can switch forms and I guess reset my cooldowns. Let's give that a shot. Okay. Sir Nick. Let's go ahead and just sheep her. I'm surprised she's not immune to sheep. That'd been an ideal thing for them to do. So he uses A3, 30,000 damage across the board. Not too bad. Boosted the turn meter a lot. He's just now jumping in and taking another turn between them, basically. I believe he's going to get another turn before Sir Nick. Hopefully, at least. Now, this is the cool thing. Noelle does not have any leech on her. Sir Nick does. If I hit Sir Nick with the A2, it's going to go to everybody, regardless of if they are under the leech or not. Which is really nice. I love seeing that, honestly. Being able to not have the condition like Mashal does, where it's, okay, we're going to use this ability, but it's only going to go to the champions or the enemies that have leech, works as a single target hit. This one, however, does not function as a single target hit. This works as an AoE skill, which is why Slayer can be so useful. But Ignore Defense is always going to be great. You can see his massive HP bar there, but Ignore Defense is always going to be great for these champions who have good, decent multipliers. He's not a Narcisse or a Taras, but he has good multipliers. Honestly, I don't know how good they actually are. If I had a 5-star soul for him, we'd have a little bit better of a comparison. But if you're going to put a blessing on him, maybe I should have said this earlier, but I did say it was pretty obvious. You guys can probably guess. Let me know, what blessing do you think would be best for him? My recommendation is going to be Nature's Wrath. I mean, Nature's Wrath makes you do more damage based on how many debuffs you place. He's already doing more damage based on how many debuffs he places. He's going to want to place debuffs, so go Nature's Wrath, right? So this team right here, let's give it a shot. Let's see how we can do here. It's a nice thing about having HP-based champions is that Go second teams, it's not as hard to make them work because you can take a hit. You can take a few hits. You're not just going to crumple at the first hit. Crumble, however you want to say it. Marius got stunned? Oh, he can't get his turn meter decrease. Okay. He can take the stun, though. Go the A3. Good. Put up some nice leech on everybody, including the sheep as well. Oh, Marius, he's back as sheep. He just can't stay out. And then we're going to go for this A2. Now, of course, polymorph is a big issue. I'm surprised we haven't gotten no polymorph showcases yet. Go for the A2, 27 and 35. Is it the biggest damage ever? No. But is it pretty decent damage? Yeah. And it seems like Slayer set is working for that A2 ability as well, which is exactly what I want to see. It's because of that condition on that A2 skill. So the arena, he can be good in Go second team. He can be good in Siege. He's going to be great for Faction Wars. I have a list of a few different areas. So Siege, Faction Wars, Cursed City, HP rooms, as well as if there's any rooms with orc requirements, which I guess there's a few things, like conditional things in the future. I forget if there's any orc requirements or not. Maybe he can fit in those, possibly. The block buff is good, so maybe he could fit in those. But of course, Arena and Hydra. Hydra, since Leech is honestly a very underrated debuff, I believe, because against the head that does reflect damage, if you have Leech up, it kind of mitigates that. Of course, you can't do a massive hit and survive it, but as long as you're not one-shotting yourself, the Leech is going to kind of balance out what the reflect damage is sending back to you. Now, this may feel like it's a Crixia Siphi showcase, and I guess it kind of is. Let's drop these two champs out. I don't really want to keep going against that team. We'll try against Colbrew's team with my buffed Rotos. We're not going to do that. Let's go. We'll go Armon still. And Korra plus, I don't know, Necrit. I don't know. Necrit will protect Armons, actually. So I don't want to go that. Maybe go Siphi. I mean, this is a speed team. My Siphi's not even fast. I honestly don't know if she's geared. Actually, no, she is. She's built. She's like 370, 380 speed. So decent speed, but not like crazy fast for sure. We'll go ahead and get rid of this Duchess, I guess. Now, unfortunately, we can't load up any of the leeches. However, Duchess just broke out of that polymorph. As long as she doesn't die, she is our leech target, which is actually fantastic. Try to increase his cooldown on his A3, hopefully. We hit the A3. Excellent. Now, if that Rotos was in the new relic, there would be no chance. I would just lose. Instant loss in this fight. So now we'll just pop the Duchess. Boom, 30k. And then AoE to everybody. Not huge damage there. A lot of protection on these champions, so not very impressive damage whatsoever. But we will get back around to his turns pretty quickly. Oh my goodness. Could have sheeped the... okay, he actually did kill me. 188,000 damage. Maybe in the future he wouldn't kill me. That time he did, unfortunately, though. We'll go with the A3 here. We do keep that HP, even through death, which is nice. That's what I was testing. It's just to see if we kept that, of course. That's all it was. It's just a little test. We'll go ahead and sheep the Rotos. He's the only person who's going to kill me. Get rid of this nonsense. So now, these champions are under debuffs. Or this is under a debuff, and then Kymar is not. So Duchess, we're going to ignore 5% of her defense, which actually just turns into a sheep. So not really the situation I was looking for there. And this is just going to be a long fight. But as your soul nuker, no. I wouldn't say he's going to be a great option for a soul nuker. But as an orcs-only team, or a 3v3 champion, alongside some other champions, sure. possibly could be decent for you. He's not going to be meta changing for the arena, but he's a good champion who has some very solid uses in Hydra. And your Hydra build can transfer over to 3v3, to Clan Siege, and these various different areas. I do think for Siege, he could have some pretty sweet uses. So for my account, I don't have Warlord, so he's not going to be a great option for me. But especially against players who have Geralt and Warlord and these crazy champions. But if you have these champions, you could say, okay, let's go to Orcs. If you have Raka, she has a res, right? It's not very many Orcs with a res. Matter of fact, let's see. Other effects, positive effects, revives. Not that he has a revive. Tagore has one. So maybe he could go in your team. But if we're only using Orcs, your options are fairly limited. So with him, maybe you have a good champion. Now with that said, I got a feeling he's probably going to be the guaranteed champion eventually. And if that's the case, then he's probably going to be part of a, 5-star soul. Got a 5-star soul for him, pick up Nature's Wrath, he's going to be doing some good damage. So functions in Hydra, work in some other areas. If he's a guaranteed champion, I'd say, hey, maybe you're actually worth going for, especially if you're missing a champion with block buffs in Hydra. Block buffs, but I mentioned Leech being underrated. I didn't talk about block buffs because block buffs, I think everybody knows, is extremely important. So block buffs is like one of the top debuffs you need to bring against Hydra. And then Leech is just a great thing to have. Not a lot of champions bring Leech. Nah, there's some really good champions who do, like Nekmo. Gwendolyn, if you can fit her in, is really good. We have Ugo on a single target Leech. But this guy is like, it's not a single target, it's just AoE, which is pretty cool. Plus some damage as well. So guys, best of luck if you decide to go for him. Let me know what your thoughts are on him. Let me know if you build him any differently. Maybe you go Stone Skin instead of this Slayer stuff. But I think Slayer works out well, and you can see in the battles that, hey, it is in fact boosting his turn meter the way that you would expect it. You have the multiple turn meter boost, 2 instances there for that, and then we have, there we go as well. Now, just out of curiosity, just out of, sake of showing you that this is actually how it works, let me swap his gear set over to this one. I actually have silver over here so I can do this kind of stuff. And you'll see that instead of the ×5 turn meter boost, it should just be the 1. Okay, no. Yeah, just the 1. No ×5. And then this A2 ability should have no turn meter boosting at all. The Slayer set will boost it times whatever amount of champions that you hit. So there we go, guys. That is Bells. Bells, what is his full name? Bells the Reckoner. So I reckon he's a pretty good champion to go for. Best of luck, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.